Well, we are now award the prize to the school Pier Cirone from Prato. As a best practice in the open day field, the students really left this morning and they came to Campania to us. Now, the Vice President of the Regional Council will take the floor again. Mr. Casillo, please. Thank you. Good afternoon. I welcome you here again. Well, I hope that our welcome was up to your expectations. On those kinds of occasions, I thought of which one could be the best welcome, institutional welcome. Since I think that the technical matters will be still discussed by authoritative representatives, also with the presence of 3 regional councils, presidents of the commissions who are near me. Well, at the political level, I was thinking, what would we get from this kind of experience? There is a Horizon 12 project, which really includes this project of the Regional Council and Salerno University, has got a fundamental objective for a representative of institutions, has got the objectives to really citizens closer to politics that is really, in a sense, seen as an enemy. So a better way to inform to inform citizens and to communicate knowledge is certainly suitable, and also tends to limit the excess, the abuse of politics. But at the same time, I'd like to add that in this kind of situation, Italian situation, it is different from the situation in other countries and in other Italian regions, and we should recognize that. And we live in a context where there is where economies are not harmonized, and we live in a place where our cultural fabric is different from yours. We have also got problems of a social and economic nature. We, on the 4th of March, we had our political elections, and I felt a bit worried, in a sense, because so many subjects were faced: the flat tax, 23%, 15%, the citizenship income. But I never heard anything about 2 fundamental topics that are included in the process of technology. I mean, I heard nothing about the corruption and about the crime. These subjects were not dealt with by the political agenda. But in the end, elections were won by people who proposed something different. for a tax by over 15%, or it was by people who proposed citizenship income. That really let me understand how important is communication. We are the stakeholders of communication, of course, and we realize that if that is not managed in a balanced way, we really see that ideas can be really confused. And anyway, so that is something that is felt here in Italy, and it may really throw a shadow on the scenario, involving citizens, letting them know what we do is an element of transparency, of legality. And if we really make this message stronger, it will be possible to avoid abuses in a sense. At the same time, I'd like to add that we should show to be more mature in the field of communication. For example, if we go to a hospital and we see that in a ward there are 20 stretches, for example, and if we say that there are 20 stretches, well, we represent a negative element, of course, because in a democratic country, well, that situation should be avoided. But if we could add that some months ago the situation was worse, well, I mean that the communication should be managed in a soft way. That is what I perceived from today's discussion, because we need people who can help us get again a right relationship with the citizens and with society, because I do think that politics should be a reference structure, reference point. Because we know that the criminal phenomena exist every day in our society, also with the political responsibility. So because I said already that politics should be considered as reference points, but anyway, if politics is wrong, well, we should consider all that again. We should really take into consideration all the people who really take care of society. We should learn what happened in the past. It is not easily understood. And we should act so that our country that has got difficulty in ranking high as to the struggle to crime, well, I think that we, as the President Riggio said, we should remember that we are really experiencing new realities. We are a new involvement of public opinion, but all that has got a sense if institutions can gain a better consideration in their relationship with the society. That is just one of the aspects that impressed me. But is something important, of course. And so I hope to hear something more from all next speakers. Well, we are ending the floor to Mr. Giuseppe Ferretti. Good morning to everyone. I thank all the people who are following us also by streaming. I am responsible for the information system of the Regional Council, and I'm also responsible for the open data in the Regional Council. Within our organization, we develop some activities linked to the ICT world, from networks to data center to servers to the management of mobiles. We really deal with computer security, with the privacy, with video conferences like today's one. And as you already saw, we have got some multimedia products that we make within a recording and TV studio. Our daily activity includes 700 users per day. So we have a lap desk that is on from 8 in the morning to 8 in the night. We manage ICT projects. And among the several good practices we started, there is also the need to really be up to comply with the European regulation as to what concerns the management of a public administration. In the assembly room, we have a voting system of parliamentary type. You can see in front of you microphones and so on. So the same system used by the European Parliament and by the national one. Then we created a recording a TV studio that does not concern only technology but also people. We have publishers. We have some assets, some tools and methods allowing us to realize what we are stating. Well, I delight to have all the slides of my presentation. As you can see in this room, in June 2017, we developed a dematerialization system using the Wi-Fi network already present for the dematerialized visualization of the documents in the room. Then in October 2017, we switched on our first YouTube channel for the Regional Council, the official one, later on. Well, let's stop here a moment. So we have a huge amount of data, both of documentary type and of multimedia type, which need being communicated in a table way, but one of the excellence table concerns the data in open data modality. What is our regulating reference point? It's the regional law. So Messi Trombetti law is the Act number 14 of 2013 that set up some rules giving a regulation both to the Regional Council and to the Junta about the modalities by which both these boards must manage the data in an open format. Just relying on these remarks, we came to know that Salerno University So another reality of Campania, another institution was the European coordinator of the project Route to PA. It was already illustrated, described this morning, but by large it has got the intention to supply tools. So we really made an agreement between the public sector and the administration. We made this kind of agreement so that these methods, these tools, which were made available by the university in the European context, could be used to build up our data sets. We really made a work about the activities divided into several work actions, following some project management procedures. That's because it's our habit to work in that way on this kind of matters. So in 2017, we realized our first open data portal that includes some data sets, not so many. This morning there was the intervention by AGIDS, and which gave some indications about the data sets necessary for the different organizations. We were mainly interested by the way to match the possibility we explored, so to produce data sets of a voluntary type focused on the type of data produced by our regional assembly. So we started from data of the regional election of the third millennium, going back to the 2005, 2010, and then we also took other data concerning this room activity. So we really used the reports containing documents with the related data, and we drew up some data. These are some visions of this platform, and then these are some the data, some elements which allowed us the co-creation of data, because people from the public administration started to use
semplici.
This tools is a social tool, so the level of penetration within our administration was rather high, because these tools are simple indeed. What was difficult was to imagine which data sets to build, but the tools are very, very simple indeed. Therefore, in December 2017, we decided to build up an entire section on our portal dedicated to open data. So with Salerno University, we really made the platforms allowing us to co-create and publish data. This platform was just joined to the national portal, and on its date it was joined to the European portal of data, the Eurodata portal.eu. All that was organized in a web page, including all the links, including the link from the Regional Council, ITER, that is of territorial training. We just included the links into the YouTube channels. So from tomorrow onwards, You will see also the movies of today's meeting. You will also see the interviews to all our speakers. So there is a more modern way to disseminate communication. One of the projects which will be protagonist in 2018 is that the Open Media Teca is not only a group of videos. We really classified the videos of the council in council meetings, question times. So all the activities performed by us, they are all products, they're all digital documents, multimedia ones, that we subtitle for deaf people. But what is particularly important is to draw some data sets from those information, because they are not really structured documents, such as the classical one, digital classical one, with the text. So this information is not structured. So how can we draw out from a TG, from a news, a data set? But you can just see the data in a long time, where there is a possibility of getting statistic information. So where it is possible to draw some elements characterizing for the communication. So that page, on the left, we put the player, the video player. This is the link to the YouTube channel with all our multimedia products. On the right, we have the transcription of what was written there with the link on the timeline, in the sense that if we look for a word on the right, by just clicking on a link on the right, we'll get the film sequence you need about a specific topic. At the bottom, you can see the written report in PDF. So the successive challenge is to communicate those data also at the international level. In May 2018, in some months, together with Southern University, will really present a scientific paper realized on the agile production of quality open data. It will be presented in a conference in Delft, in Netherlands, at the end of May 2018. And it will include also experience of the Campania Regional Council in a wider context, a more scientific and technical one. Well, this is the last slide. So where are the data in Campania Regional Council? As I was saying before, we have paper archives. Campania region will, in 2 years, will celebrate the 50th year of our existence, of our activity. So it's a young administration, but large enough to have really assembled a lot of documents of data, most of which were and are paper ones. But we have got an important production of digital multimedia documents for some years, and they concern legislative and administrative activities. So these digital reports concern the activities of the assembly room. We have got 50 regional councillors who produce activities and documents linked to legislative activities. We have 8 permanent committees and 4 special committees with an amount of data communicated through reports, 2 minutes, and they can really be considered really a mine of data from which to draw some data sets. And we also have some special council organizations. We have the regional ombudsman, the guarantor for children, for prisoners, and the recent guarantor for disabled rights. We have the Observatory on Violence on Women. We have several gender equality committees for women's rights and so on. So the question on the right is to create open data. What do we need within our public administration? We need data miners, such as the 7 dwarfs of Snow White. We need this data miner. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Ferretti. Now on the floor to Russo Salvatore, Open Data Survivor. Thank you, Mr. President. I welcome all the authorities and all the participants. We are here to tell you in few minutes the experience that Campania region has had as open data is concerned, by considering from 3 points of view: governance, the targets, and the path. Obviously, the data, the open data, from a double point of view, their value and the obligation. Why it is important to have started this process? Because open data are at the base of new digital services that we use every day from one side. From the other side, also the European Union is asking publication of open data because those are a real economic value, to know very well the territory, what is on our own territory is a propeller for a further development. Apart from being very valuable, we are also facing some regulation aspects, because apart the experiences of publication, we have some other obligations from the European regulation, but also from the rules of our legislator. And we can ask about the target, that is the creation of a single digital market that can be available not only for the community, but supplying a series of information useful for the territory and the economy. I'll tell you the regional experience of Campania region. The region was the last in the survey about the survey on the publications of data. We published 2 data sets out of 48, which is the basic basket, let's say. So we were last with just 2 data sets. I was appointed open data responsible since September 2017. So what did we realize? We have formed a team that included the best experts as the ICT information of Campania region, and we started to imagine which could be to try to find a solution for this lack of publication as for the region from one side, and from the other side to imagine an automated process of feeding of the data bank and of publications. Down the group, we have planned some resources. Since it is a strategical target, we have planned some European funds by using the contract with Consip 83 that was won by a group of enterprises. So we've been asking for help to grow in this process. So far, after 7 months of activity, all by ourselves, we have been reached first results. We have 13 data sets published autonomously. They've been updated by colleagues over the regions that have studied and they've been considering the open data topics. We have formed the new data sets which belong to the Agit basket. So we are from the last classification to the half of this classification. Apart the 13 data sets, in between 2023, we shall have 150 data sets. Apart the 48 that are the number of the agency, we would include other that are useful for our territory, that will allow our territory to grow by using the certified data certified by the regional administration. The target is to have an open campaign, not only data that have been treated, but together with local bodies of the territory to try to go to build up a system that will name our region Open Campania. How can we get to it? So since September, I was appointed. In November, December, we had 2 acts of the council. In April 2018, just this month, we have signed the contract. On the 20th of April, we shall have a plenary session to introduce the project and to draw towards our part the network of the references. Because together with the strategic authority of the region, inside each regional structure, we have detected a reference. We'll be talking about a structure that has 5,000 employees, 5 complex structures. So it is a machine that produces continuously data. Also, to prepare an act, we have to study about the data that we have. So, also the acts quite often have the base of the analysis of a territory. And we shall get, together with the technological partner that we have chosen through the Consip Convention, to a process of management of the data autonomously. That means that in a first phase of experiments that will start next week, we shall also have other director, and this will give us the total of the structures within July. The fundamental experience I would like to underline is the need to detect the most useful profile to advance this kind of work. And I would like to suggest this to people that are tending towards those kinds of projects. Just if we succeed inside the organization to detect the one that work for something and the colleagues and the officers that are more suitable to manage this type of process, because of course the processes are not all similar. So just in this case, we need a skill that get new technologies that include new technologies. So we've been asking to the responsibles of the structures to tell us the profiles that are near to this kind of skill. So communicators, engineers, and IT technicians. The regional target is to be autonomous. Once we have been working with the society, we should be able to get and to produce autonomously the future data set. So there will be the working with this company, but after that, the regional council will be ready to produce data in an autonomous way. By connecting us to the different portals that have the publications of data from the regional level to the government data, European data, etc. So, the main target is to have a community that is inside the community, but above all, an enlarged community for those that are not bodies being part of the region. So, local bodies, but not only, companies, public companies, or private companies that can have information and data that are able to help our territory to grow. So the knowledge of a series of information that are clean information, real information, will allow to the decision makers from one side and also to the community to work and to tend towards the same direction, that is the growth of the territory. Thank you.
Grazie.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. I'm handing the floor to Robert Krimmer, the Tallinn.
I'm the coordinator of the Once Only Principle project, and I would like to first apologize that I cannot be here with you today due to personal reasons. However, I would like to address you at your final conference for the Route to PA project from a project that has learned from you and that has carrying on your ideas about the transformation of the public sector in a new project that is dealing with the Once Only Principle. The Once Only Principle project, or TOP, as we abbreviate it, is an effort of the member states of the European Union to jointly develop a European e-government. It explores and wants to demonstrate how the Once Only Principle can help us to enable cross-border data sharing in the European Union and beyond. What does the Once Only Principle mean now? It means that instead of copying, of redundantly storing data, we are linking to the original source. And as you can imagine, instead of having to carry tons of paper, of documents that need to be translated, that need to be testified, that need to be approved by public authorities in different countries, you're actually able to transfer structured data that is not only being transferred, but is constantly being updated. And whenever there is a change in the source data, also the using application in the other country will be able to benefit from the updated data. And that is the principle, that is the idea behind the once only principle, that instead of making out-of-date data, actually, by copying it, we are linking to the original source. So a large-scale pilot like TOPE is, of course, not something that comes in easily. So it's an effort of some 50 partners across the European Union. We are actually wanting to connect up to 60 information systems altogether and develop a data exchange layer between the European countries, following, of course, the subsidiarity principle. So we're not there to make a prescription of one data exchange standard that everybody has to follow and implement in their own systems, but rather we provide a system that each member state can connect to and actually use to exchange the data of any kind. That is our idea in the end. And how do we get there? We get there by actually doing 3 pilot areas in which we are seeing how can we actually exchange the data, what kind of problems do we experience and how can we overcome them. So we're doing a proper drivers and barrier analysis, we're doing an impact assessment, so that we actually learn how we can roll out such a system on the long run. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're actually building on existing building blocks available through the Connecting Europe facility. So like EID, we're using e-delivery, and by that we want to further develop European e-government. So essentially we are about connecting data providers, base registers in one country to the data consumers and the service layer in another country through a federated architecture that actually TOPE will be developing. TOPE has started last year and it's going to run till next year. And in that we are an effort to provide our information and our research transparently to you. So we have also our deliverables all up on the website tope.eu, and I hope that you will have a fruitful discussion around the once only principle or what you can take from it in your conference, and I'm happy to take any questions that might come. I will try to follow your discussions using the online link provided to me. And with that, I wish you the best of success for your meeting, and looking forward to interacting with you, even if it's only remotely. Thank you very much. Hello from Tallinn. My name is Robert Krimmer. I'm
Grazie. Sentiamo adesso la signora Cristina Vasilescu. Prego.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Cristina Vasilescu. I'm the project manager of the project Enlarge. Thank you, first of all, for inviting us. And I'm very pleased to be here and to have this interesting discussion. And most of all about your project, but especially about transparency, participation, open data. Okay. So, I'm a researcher also. I'm based in Milan in the Institute for Social Research, and I'm dealing with public policy evaluation and performance of public administration's evaluation, participation and accountability. The project is an Horizon project, and it is implemented by 4 partners. The Institute for Social Research, that is the coordinator, the University of Turin, and the Association of European Local Democracy Agencies, and SAIT from Estonia, which is mainly our energy partner. Let's say that we are 2 research partners, an association of local stakeholders, local administrations, and a technical, how we call it, partner in the energy field. we started this project from one basic idea that we shared among us. I will just go back to tell that we are not alone in this adventure, because we might seem a small consortium compared to Route to PIA and other Horizon projects, but we have a lot of supporting administrations around European and non-European member states with whom we are working on this project. Well, basically, when we started the project, we shared a common idea, and that was that there is no optimal participatory process, because each process is the output of the design choices taken by, let's say, by the stakeholders in charge of the participatory process, by the corrective solutions that might happen to be adopted along the way, and also by adaptive strategies, because we heard before that real life is quite messy, and it's a complex system. There are a lot of actors, each one has its own interest. So it's not that, someone said, it's not that you find the barriers and then, oops, you find the solution and that's it, we fix everything. So when we looked at traditional guides on participatory processes, we've seen that something was missing, and that was the possibility for stakeholders, for the implementers, for the practitioners, to understand which are the consequences of their design choices, first of all. And secondly, how can we correct, let's say, design choices or strategies that we adapted at one point in the process, maybe not because we wanted, but maybe because the context brought us to adapt it. So we thought, okay, that is something that in traditional guides it's missing, or it's very limited in terms of information of which are the consequences of your decisions and how you can basically try to correct these consequences in order to bring the participatory process on the, let's call it, right route. And the second idea that we shared was that most of these guides are made by researchers. So there is little involvement of those that are implementing the processes or that are called to implement participatory processes, that have a say in how to produce knowledge, which kind of knowledge. So we started from this, and from working on three dimensions. That was social legitimacy, so how can participatory processes be perceived as a policy tool by those that generally do not participate, that stay outside and look from the window. The second dimension was institutional sustainability. How can we make the processes to be accepted by elected and technical staff within public administrations? Someone said before, I was very surprised to find out that public administrators, technical and political, do not want to do participation, do not want to involve. Well, we know, because we work a lot with administration, we know it's very difficult, not always because they do not want, but sometimes because there are no conditions, or the conditions are very hard for doing participation. So, and the last dimension was policy effectiveness. So how can participatory processes impact on the decisions? Which are the mechanisms, which are the factors that favor these three dimensions? In order to produce what, you may wonder, how do we want to be different from what we have already? So we imagined that we could deliver, at the end of the project, a choose your own adventure book, on which we are working now. And basically that is a sort of game book with different paths in which you can see which are the consequences of your decisions, and most of all you can see which might be some of the corrective solutions that can be adopted. So this is a digital tool that will be up there open for everyone to use it, and we are now actually testing it, so when it will be ready we are inviting all of you to look at it, to test it, and just to get back to us, say, look, we think you missed something here, or maybe this is not right, or maybe you should enrich this. So this is the final, let's say, the final product of our project. It is a 2 years project. And how, I will just skip this part. And how we are planning, how we did it, because now we have already, let's say, written the book. So we are working more on the digital platform now. And we reached this output how? By, first of all, having a literature review, so an exploration phase that is defining collaborative, not only participatory, but also deliberative and mixed processes. Having a call for real cases of collaborative processes in sustainable energy, because our focus is on sustainable energy policies. And then we actually debated with over 70 persons, which are representatives of public administrations at all levels, from the European one to the regional, local one, stakeholders and experts from EU and non-EU member states. We had a deliberative event in Milan, in which basically explored the 3 dimensions I mentioned before, and we focused especially on which were the design choices and which were the mechanisms, the factors, the approaches that in their opinion favored those 3 dimensions. And the production phase, first of all, our Choose Your Own Adventure book, and we have a lot of, we also have produced a lot of literature review reports, and most of all, I would underline the manifesto for boosting collaborative processes, which is actually a synthesis of the results of the deliberative event, containing a list of factors that enhance the 3 dimensions. So I invite you all to read and to sustain and to diffuse it. And as I said, you can get involved. Everyone can, we were welcoming, and we will actually like to have as many people and as many representatives, not only experts, but also public administrations, stakeholders, in testing the book, in using it, and in getting back to us to let us know how we can improve it. So you can always keep in touch with us. We are on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, basically emails, videos of our case studies. So that's it. If there are questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Grazie Mrs. Vasilescu. Sentiamo adesso il signor Matteo Satta.
Now, Mr. Matteo Satta will take the floor. Good afternoon. I speak Italian today. Generally, I always speak French or English. I'm Matteo Satta. I work for the city of Sile Mulino. For those who do not know where it is located, well, it is halfway between the Tour Eiffel and Versailles Royal Palace. I'm here to present the Polyvisu project. So this Polyvisu project is a continuation of what we did during the last years, because my organization has been working for 7 years on open data projects, I want to thank Vittorio for inviting us here. I also cooperated with the PA project, the Route to PA project. The Polyvisu project is a continuation of what we did during the last years. It is a continuation, as I said, because open data and the transparency are just one side of data, but data may be very useful also to improve services we have today. And it's an element which should be steadily improved. In this case, the project is addressed to mobility, meant as a transport. Is not the only element, the only case, because the approach should be really applied to other sectors too. Well, the project relies on the fact that cities and infrastructures are under pressure today, which really results into a high social cost in terms of time, because people really spend a lot of time with transport, because any of us really experienced that kind of problem. Well, there are also environmental problems in the sense of pollution. But today we have available some unprecedented tools. We have multi-data that can become an important tool. Just to give you some figures, more than 90% of the data were created in the past 2 years. Less than 12% are used to take decisions. So in our administration, public service, we really don't take into account data. Polyvisu proposes a very peculiar project in the sense that beyond really proposing tools as intelligent visualizations and using real-time data, has got a peculiar spirit, because it wants to supply public bodies some tools meant as knowledge and as training. So it aims at helping people who work on the spot to develop a Polyvisu playbox. I mean, allowing people working in public administration to use data for better working, for better going on with their jobs. We have 3 pilots in the project. One is Ghent in Belgium, with a particular case study, because they want, thanks to data, they want to understand how university students, a huge number of university students are there. They want to realize what impact they have on everyday mobility. So this will be a case study really linked to the management of traffic and to exceptional situations when a problem arises, just to predict what can happen. As to EC, these are the information, other kind of information. We have 240,000 vehicles per day on roll, and we have a congestion index equal to 33% or more. And above all, we have 2 big infrastructural projects ongoing we are building an underground network with more than 200 kilometers and 250 stations that will be built in the next years, and will host Olympics in 2024.
A sufficienza per provare.
So we have a lot of exceptional situations to start tests. Then that slide concerns the idea for Polyvisu to create tools and data, not only to give tools to the population to take a decision, also decisions concerning us as public authorities, but also allowing citizens to communicate, just to change their transport habits in a sustainable way. And one of the biggest challenges today is this one. Among the other things, we'd like to make another step to see how it would be possible to collect anonymous data from social networks to take decisions to react to population's requirements. Okay, that's all. We have some links in Facebook and Twitter. We have also our email address, so if you want to contact us, we'll be very happy to cooperate with you.
Adesso c'è una tavola rotonda.
Now we have a round table with the presence of 3 regional council, Valeria Ciarambino, Maria Grazia Di Scala on my left, and Giampiero Zinzi, Diana Krebs, Tatjana Perse, Cristina Vasilescu. This will be moderated by Paolo Boscolo. So we'll talk about participation and transparency in public administration. So excuse the participation of Tuscany here today, but this cooperation that we started with University of Salerno has been very useful. I've got the task to be coordinator of this round table, but also to bring about my experience. People have been introduced before. What I would like to ask to the political representatives of this round table, I cannot ask technical things, but it would be interesting to understand. They are president of important commissions, and they have something to do with the management of data. First, I would like to ask if and which is their vision of the participatory process during their works, and particularly how they think the open data can be an aid for their activity and to solve problems. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Valeria Ciarambino. I'm the president of the Commission for Transparency of the Regional Council of Campania. I want to ask the organizers for the invitation to this event. I've been listening to all the papers. I've been learning a lot, and I'm very much convinced that what we are doing into the regional administration for the diffusion of transparency is important. You know that in Italy changes are a bit long, so I can say that apart that Italy is among the last one to have a regulation about transparency, even if 5 years passed, I can say that we are pioneering in this sector to disseminate transparency. The contribution that I can bring to this discussion is not a technical, but empirical contribution of a person that needs transparency, because, of course, transparency is qualifying. So it's important for people that work every day into the institution to underline the right of the public administration to transparency. I heard a series of words that is network. So I will get in touch with most of you because you can help me for the work I am doing. So I will thank you very much. I must say that transparency must be done. So I'm quite happy that Campania region is holding this meeting. It's called Campania General is the last one. Today we are here to compare with so many international realities about transparency. But I must share what Mrs. Vasilescu said, that is that there is a kind of reluctancy as to the transparency and the participation. So first of all, we have to eradicate this reluctancy. I am into a commission for transparency, but at the regional council, they do not accede, even if requirements have been done, to the dynamic data of the regional budget. It's like that, because the works of the Commission are followed by through 3 councils, and this is a region where there is a regulation of the President of the Council that stresses that to participate to the commissions, we must have its permission. So we must remove those reluctancy. But Campania region is the first one in this. I think it's the only region in Italy to have from a charter of a commission of transparency, apart then for the control of the activities of all the funding for the regional activities. Now we have to put into, we have to translate this element. So what I catch is also from people that do require transparency, because this is a new right of citizenship. Well, from those, transparency is meant just as a bureaucratic task and not as a key element that is qualifying for acceding to the rights. From the privilege point of view of my commission, there is a great need of participation by the citizenship, and just as approach to the work, we wanted to develop most of the work by answering to the requirement of the citizenship. So most of the work that we do derives from this need. So the need of transparency by citizenship, they are aware that through the transparency of the data and also the open data, they can have a control upon the administration. So there is a great demand of participation. So the administration must face this requirement. So as Commission for Transparency, for this reason, we have chosen to publish all the documents of our activities, including the minutes that we have in our meetings. Those can be visualized on a site of the regional council. And we wanted also to come out from the role of institution that will show what has not been done by some people, but we wanted to overcome this real role of control to get a role of trust. So this was an institutional mission that is to be some subjects that are promoter in this sense. And I want to introduce a project that I myself have promoted, and I think this can be an heritage for all the regional institutions and can be also extended to other parts of the public administration. That means the network of transparency in the healthcare system. It was created in Campania 3 weeks ago, and it's an unicum in our landscape. It has been accepted by the president of ANAC and GENAC. We've been asking cooperation for this project, and they have given us some experts. I want to tell you what it is about. In March 2016, we have a hearing because the first report of GENAC about transparency, that has been the only report just to the work of the healthcare firms as to transparency. Well, Campania region, as it happens, had the last place. So this was a kind of alarm, so we've been calling all the responsible for the transparency, not for stigmatize their work, but to understand where the problem was. Because an institution for transparency has to work with the other institutions to allow transparency. What emerged were a series of critical points. So, as someone said, it is true, it is important to have transparency and to have the participation of the citizens, but it is important to put the administration under the condition to adhere to this right. And nowadays we are not in this condition. Responsible of transparency have also other works. They are responsible of human resources, of general affairs. They do not have dedicated human resources, so as to the different requirements, there are no means to face them. And they have to face a regulation, and they have to adopt some solutions, some problems.
Some problems with the very difficult, different solutions, in spite of the fact that the problems are common. As a president organization, I thought it would be useful to create a permanent technical table to join by network all the people involved in transparency in the health field, so that on one side it would be possible to exchange the best practices as to transparency, participation, open data also at the level of Campania region, and at the same time it would be possible to detect harmonize the common solutions to similar problems. Before, we had something about readability of data. I like the fact that is emphasized today that data should be used, because sometimes the data are just published for a duty, but they are not, they cannot be used. If you look at the data published by the data from Naples Health Unit, they are not at all harmonized. And let's think that also from a visual point of view, they are not friendly. They are a bit frightening for those who want to interpret them. So that's why we'd like to guarantee a better use of the data published. So this initiative was really accepted with the pleasure by many medical organizations in Campania, and the people responsible for transparency thanked me because they didn't feel alone any longer. Before, we really circulated a questionnaire just to understand what kind of focuses to apply. So in a certain way, the network of transparency was already born with this requirement of participation. And so little by little will involve some experts just looking for technical solutions to face the different problems. I really believe in the vision of transparency as a key element as to the access to rights, and that is valid above all in the field of health, because it has got a great impact on citizens' lives. And so the need for transparency is mostly felt in the field. Transparency in health is something that also concerns the right to treatments. I am thinking of the transparency.
This is our first problem. The other second problem is the complexity of data. So the complexity, data are not cleaned, not structured, they don't have a meaning. So we need first to work with our colleagues first to discover what we want to publish, then to structure those data, then to find an owner of the data. In many cases, we don't have who is the owner of this data, who needs to give a permission for this data to be published. To get an approval of the department, of course, we want to publish this data. And this sometimes is a long process, and sometimes we even don't get an approval. So we come to this point that we have everything ready, but we don't get an approval to publish this. Of course, for data to be published in a real time, we need the programmers who will develop a program to data to be published and so on. And also interpretation of the data. Data are published, but they don't have any meaning to maybe wider audience or the audience. And in general, people are not aware, especially some groups are not enough aware. So what we want to improve in our city, and that's why we really appreciate projects like Route to Pay. We learn from these projects, and it's very valuable for us to really hear other stories. So first of all, we want to improve our process. We want to get more resources to be able to run processes the way we want to. Then we want to improve quality of our data, to make to visualize the data, to improve metadata. Then we want more discussion about data and collaboration about data. We want to run new services based on those data. And we plan to involve citizens to collect the data on the ground for us. So we plan concrete actions. Very soon we will run e-consultations about data that people want to open. This is a standard process of e-consultations within the city. We want to raise awareness about open data, first of all, among city councillors. In many cases, city councillors discuss different topics, but their discussions are not based on concrete data. They are based on gossips, on something what they read in the newspaper, or we want to provide them concrete data so their discussions can be more argumentative. So we plan to organize some sessions with our city councillors, with the journalists. Journalists that work in the city, they are not also aware of some data that they can use for the more quality articles that they write in the local newspaper. Sometimes this is just not based on the data. Their writing is not correct in many cases. We want to discuss with academia. We want to give academia data for research, for the to employ students to run their projects, to run their maybe research work and something else. To the business sector and for the community managers to improve their neighborhoods, to base decisions on the data. And also we want to we are looking for EU funding and funding to run our processes. So at the end, I would like to really thanks to the project to invite us to talk about our problems and our processes and to learn from the project and from the experience that you actually get in the 3 years. So I am looking forward to read your guide and the best practices from the other communities. Thank you very much.
I problemi e le esperienze che Tatjana ci ha presentato credo siano comuni a tutte le città, a tutti gli enti che si stanno o che si sono gettati in questa attività di pubblicare gli open data. Io non parlerò della mia esperienza, che lascio per ultima, ma un paio di osservazioni però su questo intervento di Tatjana mi piace farlo perché credo abbia posto l'accento su un punto importante. Molte delle nostre attività di pubblicazione di open data sono basate su un processo che è sbagliato, diciamo, non è assolutamente ottimale, cioè quello di andare a raccogliere i dati, lavorarci sopra, creare poi degli Excel, dei CSV e metterli nel portale open data. Mentre giustamente Tatjana dice che stanno facendo molti sforzi, e credo debba essere un obiettivo comune, per far sì che i dati vengano pubblicati in automatico dalle piattaforme informatiche che li producono. Su questo è un'esigenza che tutti abbiamo, però credo ci debba essere molto più impegno come funzionari che sviluppiamo ed acquistiamo soluzioni informatiche per le nostre amministrazioni, perché nei capitolati e nelle procedure di acquisto che facciamo richiediamo sempre più questo requisito ai prodotti che dobbiamo acquistare, perché sul mercato in questo momento i prodotti non sono dotati di questa possibilità e se noi non lo chiediamo nelle nostre procedure d'acquisto il mercato non ci darà mai le soluzioni che ci servono. Questa è la prima osservazione. La seconda riguarda la discussione. Il motivo per cui come Prato siamo entrati nel progetto Route to PA è perché a noi è piaciuta proprio quest'idea base nel progetto di creare un blog nel quale la discussione avviene sui dati e non su fatti che non sono affatto oggettivi, no? Nella prima riunione del progetto, ricordo, sulla costiera amalfitana, avevamo coniato proprio un nuovo termine, dice invece che creare siti www sarebbe carino se il nostro progetto facesse nascere un nuovo stile di siti nei quali invece la W viene sostituita alla DDD, Data Driven Discussion, cioè dovremmo creare dei blog dove ciò che discutiamo è basato su fatti provati da dati. Quindi ecco, il progetto su questo, il blog che ha creato è proprio fatto con questo obiettivo. Quindi non parlo però della mia esperienza, che lascio per ultima, mentre chiederei a Cristina Vasilescu di parlarci di un'esperienza che credo lei conosca bene.
Another experience that she knows very well. It has been rather enthusiastic because we want to do something similar, that is the participatory budget. It is a special process of participation but in Italy it's just experimental, so I would ask her to illustrate her experience. No. I want to introduce the experience of participatory experience of Milan, but under another point of view, because we are the representative of the administration, politicians, technicians. I am a researcher. So, as Institute for the Social Research of Milan, together with the Urban Adventure, with the support of some important association, the Arci, we have been chosen through a public call to support them in implementing the participatory budget of Milan. It was 2015, the first experience of municipality of Milan. So there was a phase of project of the call that was rather engaging by the municipality, because the image of what those projects were not immediate, also inside the public administration, and so they require a consensus inside the same administration at political and technical levels. So municipality took about nearly 1 year to give the call, and the project itself has been done in 6 months. It has been implemented in 2015 and has seen the participation of about 33,000 people from Milan. The process was open to anyone older than 14, and people that would work, would live in Milan. So people that were leaving the city every day. So 9 million euro have been used for the community for infrastructures project. So it has been required the participation of citizenship. There were 4 phases. First, listening to the requirements, and also the ideas and how to invest the money that we had. There've been organized some meeting by the facilitators, technical assistants in this case, in each area of the municipality, and about 45,000 meetings have been organized in less than 6 months. There's been a lot of support as the citizenship. The technical assistance has supplied a training for the citizens that wanted to promote a training and to supply their requirements. For that,
610 ideas were received for a project, then they were refined during a phase of co-designing. A co-designing lab was organized, lasting 1 day, and the people, the citizens participating in the lab were selected by random during a public hearing on the base of some geographic and demographic features to represent all the types of population in the different 9 areas in Milan. During this phase of co-designing lab, some technicians from Milan municipalities were involved, as well as some political representatives. 40 projects were defined, and they were submitted to the vote of citizens through online platforms, but also through some assisted votations. 9 projects were funded. They had been selected by citizens, and some of the projects are still in progress. The project includes a monitoring phase, and also the response of citizens as to the implementation of the project selected. The experience is being repeated this year too, and it is very important because it is not a one-stop experience, but it is the experience that is repeated in time. Thank you. Thanks. Now, my experience. What was our experience within this Route to PA project? Like the other pilot cities, we defined the features of the platform during the first phases of the project, and we tried to comply with our needs. As a pilot site, we tried to experience this platform for some possible applications to understand which application was the best one. Also to have a feedback on the features of the platform itself. The first experience we made was an informal one. We opened a platform through communication and inviting people to be recorded, just letting them free to act, just to understand if the platform could be interesting for the population. Well, this phase was not very bad. It was not so negative indeed, because I thought that no one wanted to participate, but about 7,100 people really registered, and there was a school. This is not one of the formal projects, but there was a high school which decided to take part in the project because it is a technical school, and a teacher created a team of people who want to recover old computers to set up a museum. Since this experience is present in different parts of Italy, they use the platform to have a census of these museums that really were born in Italy, and they produced an interesting data set of these museums. Some people use the platform to ask us for the publication of the open data. So we had a requirement from an individual who asked us the data concerning all the trees in the city, but I didn't know that there was a database of 35,000 trees. So we published this data set, and a team of people was very happy. Other people asked us for some data important to set up a kind of intervention, civil interventions. Then we set up more organized pilots. The first one, successful one, was that by which the administration asked citizens where to install the new equipment of the Wi-Fi hotspot. In that case, too, we had more than 30 people who registered. They made the comments, they gave suggestions. About 30 hypotheses to install new hotspots were raised. So we are trying now to meet the requirements of the citizens. It is not an experience of a participatory budget, but in a certain way it is an example of the fact that by the platform we realized which were the needs of some citizens. Well, the third pilot is that is the most successful one because it came to our minds the involvement of schools in building up data sets concerning our cultural heritage. Prato is a city with a presence of some votive niches, and a work had been carried out by a historian of art on the subject. This about 30 shrines had been listed. We proposed that thing to schools, and 3 of these schools asked to work on this subject. So the discussions in classrooms were organized. So we really awarded the prize to 2 of the schools. They created a data set of more than 150 shrines. We are asking them to continue to really, with their census, about 100 students were involved. And then the administration promised them to award a prize, to really allocate a fund to school. So we proposed a work, but the school itself really devised other applications for this platform. They asked us to continue to use the platform later on. Well, the last pilot was not a successful one. We thought to use the platform to get transparency on budget data. In that case, we failed. And so why? The situation is very complex. First of all, we could not find a great interest by the potential users of the platform on this kind of data. Not because they don't want to know the data of the budget, but because they are not easy to be interpreted. And citizens who had to interpret all these Excel sheets could not interpret them. So what is missing is a way that should be developed at a national level to give visibility of the budget in a synthetic way that can be understood by people. Because otherwise, any possibility to open this data would not be useful for citizens. On the other side, we found also political difficulties, because even if we had really an availability by politicians for this experiment, it was not easy to that. First of all, for some regulation difficulties, and the municipalities really are in a difficult situation. So the idea was to launch a phase of communication because the approval, also using the platform, but the municipality really is just facing technical problems. So it was difficult to make an experiment of this kind because the budget today, this year, is very difficult to be successful. So that's to mean that not always things work well. But this application, open data, maybe can be useful in the future. We have also some difficulties, both from the regulatory point of view, from the national point of view.
In trying to make available the data about on the contract. We have a regulation to publish every year to XM format, which can be reused for comparing, etc. But those data are published by the municipality, but there is no place to download them. There are no tools to compare them. Also, upon this, there is a lot to work because publications of the data is even more important than the same budget, because budget is a very technical tool, but at the end is what the administration does. So at the end, the data will tell what there is, what the administration doesn't do if there are some mistakes. From those data, this is important. So it would be much more useful to have those data and to compare them. This, in summary, what we have done in Prato and the project Route to PA. I'm sure we can continue this platform because it has been very useful, and the experience will not be concluded here. I hand the floor to the Vice President for conclusions. More than conclusions, I have to express my thanking to all of you, together to our officers, employees, and leaders. You made this meeting not only useful, but precious. I would like to catch an aspect that I have underlined in my short introduction, the theme of information. Ms. Tatjana, is not only in your country that it happens that a piece of information is based upon gossip, that few journalists write things that are not true. It happens also in Italy, and this aspect, which is very important, will recall all of you to an effort, because an information, if hasn't got quality, cannot be transparent. This must be any question, because from one side we abuse about this term, transparency and legal aspect, and information does not follow this approach, well, it's useless. We are not coherent. So we reduce the effort of all of us, and at the end, we are the main character of the political world, the communication, that are really a great responsibility. So these moments are really very important. I do wish that we can meet again here just to sign a path forward, and I will conclude, and I thank you with all my heart of what has been done today. Transparency means, above all, a proper and correct information. Thank you.
Adesso dobbiamo premiare qualche ragazzo. Dove ci mettiamo? Davanti?
Davanti, sì.
Davanti, facciamo.
Has to be an award here.
Il comune di Nocera.
The municipality of Nocera Inferiore and the school of Avellino, Mancini, High School Mancini.
Sì, lì dove siete, prego. Sì, prego, potete passare. Allora, qui siamo con il liceo, giusto? No. Ah, il comune? Comune? Il comune di Nocera? Comune. Ok.
Municipality of Nocera.
Adesso invece, ecco qui, è la volta del liceo Mancini.
Grazie, buonasera a tutti.
Grazie.